I'd like to just give a few highlights of the transit operations in the mall, maybe just picking up on a few of the comments Fred made, and then run down our operational readiness for the 24th. Really, in a sense, I think our operational preparations for the mall started 4 to 5 years ago as we worked with Neil's staff on the design of the mall, the placement of stations, terminal designs, bus stop placement, signaling systems, and so forth. And when we approached the mall back then, we started by trying to fit the old mall operations to the new mall with light rail, and it just didn't fit. So we started over again and said if we're redesigning this totally new, not being constrained by our previous bus operations on the mall, how would it operate? And that's how we came up with the design that will go into effect in a week and a half. The main themes in it were to provide a very simple and consistent operation for our operators, for the public, in their cars, pedestrians, and so forth. By keeping it simple and consistent, this would make it really safe and understandable for all users of the mall. It's a 1.8 mile stretch between Irving Street by Union Station and Jackson Street down by PSU. 57 block faces. 14 of those have MAX stations and 31 have bus stops. There'll be one bus stop on each of those 31 blocks. Fred mentioned the travel lanes on the mall, the 3 lanes, the multi-purpose lane to the left separated by the double white rumble strip, the transit travel lane for both buses and MAX in the middle, and that's the lane that gets the right-of-way, and then the service lane, which is basically bus stops and MAX stations. In terms of traffic signals, MAX uses its regular signals that it uses elsewhere in downtown and on the alignment, and for retired vehicles, it's the classic traffic light, the red, amber, and green aspects. The bus volumes on the mall will be lower than on the old mall, and this is because several of the lines that used to run on the old mall are instead looping across the mall. And that's one of the opportunities with the light rail sign of frequent service up and down all the way from Union Station to PSU. We're able to reroute some buses to serve other areas of downtown more effectively and create more or less a mini grid of transit service downtown. This will also help make the mall a little bit more inviting environment with the lesser volume of buses. Some other uses of the transit lanes that are allowed. C-Tran will be operating on parts of the mall with their service from their express service from Vancouver, and our Lyft service will also use the mall to provide service to passengers at selected stops. Fred mentioned that operators have signed for this service. Our routes and schedules are set. We developed standard operating procedures last year. Those were presented to operators through the operator training program that began in January, a full day of training, including trips down onto the mall with buses. Almost 1,700 people have been trained. That includes about 1,200 bus operators, 133 MAX operators. So the idea was to cross-train so MAX operators could see the operation of the mall from the bus operator's perspective. A couple of hundred C-Tran operators and staff, and then 175 of other TriMet staff and Lyft staff. Right now we're just finalizing the punch list of items, striping, signage, and so forth, getting ready for the 24th. Customer information's been out on the web. The brochure that you have there is being distributed out on the street by our customer service representatives. As we get into Safety Awareness Week next week, we'll continue to provide information to our customers, both about the service changes and the safe operation of the mall. Next Friday on May 22nd, there's a bus parade and a street fair at PSU to further highlight the opening. And we are working real closely to make sure we provide support to our operators as they prepare to go back on the mall. We'll be in the garages the mornings before they go out, giving them information. There'll be a ton of us down there on the street working with them. And we have an incident command structure that we're developing to make sure that we can quickly address any issues that come up, particularly on that first full weekday of service on Tuesday. So our first bus is due down there at 5:20 a.m. on Sunday. So some of us will be there. But we look forward to that. Thank you very much.
Hey, quick question for you. In looking at this map where you see the buses that run east and west and go across 6th Avenue and like at Cleveland, Everett, Burnside, is that pretty much where those buses ran before to cross there as well? I mean, or can we lessen the crossing or increase them, or just out of curiosity?
We've had service on those streets for a long time. We put a number of the bus lines that were on the old mall now run on Columbia and Jefferson Streets that were rerouted back in January of 2007. Main Street's always been the access point in from Hawthorne Bridge and Gleason, similar for the Steel Bridge.
So essentially, everything,
Pretty much.
when the mall, buses came off the mall originally back in '07, Columbia and Jeff really picked up buses, but all the others are about the same as they've always been. Maybe the 14 is the only one that's going to change a little bit, but that's it.
Regarding the lift, you're going to get this, if you come and make this report in that manner, I'm going to get my ears chewed off. And I'm saying that simply because they are used to door-to-door service. You and I know that we're not going to be able to give door-to-door service on a max line, where you're going to park and it might take you 10 to 15 minutes to get that person out of the lift to go from their door to the front door of the building there. What are we looking at doing in that situation?
Well, we worked very closely. We actually went block by block and, looked at building entrances. And the city of Portland has been very helpful to us in terms of those blocks. For example, at a max platform where the lift vehicle could not stop, at the platform, of giving us locations on the side streets that we can use for that activity. But that would be the expectation that the lift vehicle could park there, and the customer or the client could be escorted to and from the door.
By the lift driver?
Just as a normal lift operation in downtown today.
What will happen if this lift driver has, let's say, 3 passengers on this bus? The first one needs assistance. What happens to those other 3?
Depending upon their condition,
Yeah.
we will dispatch a supervisor to sit with the lift vehicle while the operator is assisting the customer to the front door.
I knew you guys had it all figured out. But I just, when they hit me with it, I want to be able to say,
We talked, Ken, a little bit about in a place where there is not a max station on it, so that therefore there is a bus lane that's curbside.
So they can park in the bus lane and hold up.
In the service lane.
Yeah, at the service.
And most of the blocks on the mall can fit up to 4 buses.
Okay.
We will rarely have more than 2 or 3 there, even during rush hour. So at the back end of the block, or that's the space that's identified for lift. To pull into the back of that block, there are actually going to be little markers on the face of the curb to instruct the lift operator exactly where to pull up to. And so that's a way that we could accommodate that lift vehicle being on the mall without interfering with the normal flow of buses.
If you run through the numbers, maybe we should help me. Total number of block faces, 150, what?
57 block faces.
Pardon me?
57.
57 block faces. 31 will be bus stations. So on all those 31, the ability to have that lift vehicle stop at the curb of that block are there. The ones that are potentially compromised are on the train ones, the max ones, and that is a total of
14.
14, and those will be at the side street, and then the issue becomes, is that the only rider on the lift vehicle, and therefore the operator can in fact escort if needed, or is it one to have to, in that relatively rare case of having to be able to call for the supervisor, which we will do. So it just gives you kind of the cascading way that will work.
Okay.
Most of the needs of the lift clients are known by the dispatch center.
Right.
So if they know that there's a bus being dispatched downtown, and they'll have the mall alignment, and it will be close to a max stop, they'll preempt a supervisor to be in that area for assistance.
Okay.
So we're trying to cover,
And I believe, in fact, when people call in, if they do have a destination on the mall, we will note that in the reservation so that we can prepare for it and know it's coming, as Steve said. So,
That concludes our report, unless you have any questions.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My question.
And that concludes our meeting.
Thank you.